Hi, this is Dan again from CleanGuru, and today I promised you we'd talk about a real hot potato in the commercial cleaning business, and we're going to do that. And the reason it's a hot potato is because depending on who ends up holding it and how they handle it will determine whether or not it's sort of a bad thing or whether it could be actually a very good thing. So the hot potato, what is this? Well, it's this: consumable supplies. Now, we're not talking about cleaning chemicals, cleaning supplies. We're not talking about bowl cleaner and glass cleaner and that kind of thing. That's something you have a pretty good handle on probably in terms of overhead as far as what kind of an expense those kind of cleaning chemicals cost you. That's something more understandable. We're talking about consumable supplies. So we're talking about what may be referred to as poly paper supplies. Primarily things that are used in the bathroom, the restroom. For example, hand towels, hand soap, toilet paper, trash liners, that kind of thing. And this question of consumable supplies and who's going to provide them. So the hot potato is the janitorial commercial cleaning company going to hold this hot potato, or is the building owner, the property owner or manager, are they going to take care of this? And we're going to talk about this quite a bit because we get a lot of calls about it, and we understand because we struggled with this very, very often ourselves in the early years. Speaking of which, let me just go ahead and jump into this, and I'll tell you a story about Tony and I. I always encourage you to learn from our mistakes, and they say a wise person does that. So I'm going to try to share with the stories of our mistakes, hopefully that you won't have to go through them and learn painfully the way we did. Here's what we did. Our story is this. I remember years ago, we quoted on a job, and the customer said, the building said, hey, I want you to include, we need you to include those consumable supplies in the price. In fact, I would think I was sitting at a big meeting with all these other contractors, and we all looked at each other, and of course no one said anything. And so I went back to the office in those early days, and I said, boy, Tony, we've got to include these consumable supplies. We got to include the cost for providing them every month in our main price, in our main monthly price. So we sat down there and we came up with a price. Let's say $275 we're going to charge for us providing the toilet paper, hand towels, hand soap, and so on. Fine. We ended up getting that job. The bad news is we ended up getting that job. I mean, it turns out within a month or two or three, it turns out we found that we were spending, I think it was like $415, $385. We were spending more in providing them than we were charging them. Now, here's the mistakes we made. Number one, we didn't know how to estimate the usage of those products, and so that was a problem. Number two, we didn't charge enough per item. In fact, as I recall, our Jan Sand distributor, the place where we bought these products, they increased their price to us, so our cost increased. The next thing we did wrong, I don't think we had any provision for us going back to our customer and increasing their price when we got our price increased. We agreed to $275 for 12 months or 24 months, and that's what we agreed to. So we made a number of mistakes. Again, we didn't get the usage right. We didn't know about having a provision to take care of this. And we really got over our heads and started to incur a monthly cost that really brought down the profitability of the whole job. In fact, I think it ate up the entire profitability of the job. Now, the good news is I think eventually we went back to that customer and renegotiated with them, and they were willing to do that with us. I'm not sure they had to, but they were willing to. But you don't need to necessarily make that mistake. This issue of consumable supplies and who's going to provide them is a real challenge at times. Now, we learned a lesson, and frankly, the way we approached it is for 95% of our customers, we tracked the supplies, we ordered the supplies, we stocked the supplies, and as the supplies came in, we sent a separate invoice with a line item that charged for that case of supplies. So it would be the cost plus our profit, so there was their charge. So we were able from then on to always make sure that we were covering our cost plus a little bit of profit when we delivered those. We learned a painful lesson that way. But this can be a very difficult challenge. The problem is that sometimes customers, sometimes big ones also, I mean, it can be a school system or a municipal, a government agency, or it can be that they require you to do this. So it's not as if you can say, hey, listen, I'd like to always charge you as we provide the cases. They may say, no, we're not going to be okay with that. We need you to always charge us the same amount, other than if there's a cost change from your Jan-San supplier, but we need to know how much we're going to be paying every month. So commercial cleaning companies are put kind of in a spot. How are they going to come up with a number? The next time we talk, I want to share 2 or 3 strategies of how you can tackle this problem, because you want to bid on the job, but you know you have to include this in your price. I want to talk about 2 or 3 strategies that will help you do that. And we'll do that next time. Until then, remember, you can do this. You really can.